Okay, thanks for joining everyone. Welcome to our webinar, How to Connect Each Part of Your Oil and Gas Operation. And I wanna do a few things before we get started. I wanna let you know about the Q&A box at the bottom. If you can just throw your questions in there, we can get to them. And we will share the presentation with you along with a copy of your recording to your email after this is complete. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Eric Syme, and he'll tell you about oil and gas.
Yeah, so thanks everybody. Some of the challenges that we see that our oil and gas customers are facing is some of the disparate systems from multiple vendors, remote locations requiring a lot of windshield time to access, driving down lease roads to get there, or lack of the skilled workers to be able to even go out and troubleshoot those applications. Silos of automation, difficult to network together, and new assets that may have been acquired from another company needing to be brought into the SCADA and the business system to keep track of, as well as some legacy automation and measurement solutions that don't meet some of today's applications. So when we look at some of the solutions that Prosoft offers for our oil and gas customers, we have a lot of solutions that can solve a lot of those unique challenges right there. Everything from our protocol communication gateways, things like HART for maybe integrating instrumentation, pressure and temperature devices, maybe mag meters that are doing water measurement. Profibus DP, we see that in a lot of use cases for our drilling rigs, integrating Profibus devices into the control system. DMP3 is something that we see some of our oil and gas customers using as a SCADA protocol. And then some of our unique solution, and then there's always Modbus, which seems to a lot of times be a de facto communication standard for oil and gas customers. But in this solution right here, we also talk about our Prosoft Connect, which has some great features for secure remote access, as well as our PDN network. And then we also have some of our measurement solutions that tie into the Rockwell Automation platform. From an industrial wireless standpoint, which we have done a lot of applications over wireless applications that allows us to maybe bring out skid mounted equipment into a facility, and then go ahead and, instead of running cable Ethernet, you just basically power it up, and then through industrial wireless, you can go ahead and connect that back to your control system to get that information into your control system, and then eventually onto your SCADA application. So those are just some of an overview of some of the solutions. Talking specifically about some of the solutions that we offer for oil and gas customers, really our protocol conversion using our industrial gateways is something that comes up quite a bit. So this is usually when we're using gateways for when we're trying to tie disparate systems into a controller. So a lot of times it's something like a Modbus network, devices like multivariable transmitters, maybe pressure and temperature devices, maybe gas chromatographs that all need to be tied into maybe something like a Rockwell controller or some other vendor's controller via Ethernet IP. One of the things that one of the nice things about our communication gateway is we actually support up to 4 serial ports on this individual device. So what it does is it allows you to go ahead and segment these networks to get the best amount of performance out of your Modbus serial networks as possible. So as we worked with some customers on optimizing their communication system, a lot of times they were happy with getting data every minute from these various devices, because that was just about as fast as they could pull, or that was they had large Modbus networks. By being able to segment those networks, you could actually set up one communication port is high priority. Maybe put 2 of your devices on there that you need fast data update rates. And then you've got some of your other devices that may be lower priority that could be distributed amongst the other ports. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to design a best-in-class communication system. And then by having the integration of Modbus into the controller, you get information from those devices. Unlike some of you see a lot of protocol conversion devices that it's basically one size fits all thing. Our communication gateways are really built for purpose. And what this really does is it allows us to transfer a lot of data. We can transfer up to 10,000 words of data through a shared database. But it also gives us really good performance. We can go ahead and define a lot of data, but also be able to outperform a multitude of other devices that just because it's built for a single purpose, and that is to get that information in quickly and reliably. So we've got some features such as being able to use a SD card to go ahead and back up your configuration, as well as securing the module configuration to make sure that it cannot be accessed and configuration changed. And then when I talk about high performance, just as an example, our Ethernet IP driver can support up to 8 I/O connections back to a controller compact logic processor. What this does is this allows us to transfer up to 2,000 or around 2,000 bytes of data or words of data, 16-bit integers, between the control system. And we can define those connections as low as 10 millisecond RPI time. So you get a lot of data, you can get it back into the control system very quickly. So what this does is this allows your application to be a very high performance application, even though it's taking advantage of an older communication protocol such as Modbus. So jumping into a different topic, we're going to talk about some secure remote access and telemetry. As I mentioned earlier, that one of the challenges oil and gas customers face is, just assets are spread out over a multitude of locations, a lot of windshield time, and needing to get skilled personnel into the right spot. So with our secure remote access solution, it is something that is targeted. We've worked with a lot of our oil and gas customers, but also in other industries as well, such as water, wastewater, and mining industries, really where you've got assets that are spread out. Secure remote access is something that can help drive efficiencies for our customers. So our secure remote access is based around our Prosoft Connect, which is our cloud-based remote access solution. One of the things that we've done with our secure remote access solution is we've really tried to bridge the gap between a lot of the features that IT requires, as well as still maintaining the operability that OT requires. So I remember years ago that where our OT guys were throwing just switches that they went and picked up over at Best Buy or wireless access points at Best Buy into a network just so they could get access to it, and they didn't want to work with your IT group on it. With the security breaches that we've seen in various industries, those days are gone now. No one wants to take responsibility for that. And you always want to make sure that you have your IT group that approves things like secure remote access devices. So we've really tried to incorporate features in there that make them feel comfortable using the solution while still providing easy data access or remote access to various devices. So we do show on this slide right here, we've got the cellular gateway, which can work over your traditional cellular networks, but we also have our wired network bridge, which that will allow you to, if you've already got either internet access on site, you could use this network bridge, and it now becomes an appliance. So I mentioned security, and so as part of the security, we really have a couple of unique features that helps us to kind of give some of the best-in-class security for remote access devices. One of those being our VLOTO, which is our virtual lockout tagout authorization. Every one of our remote devices, remote access, only does outbound connections. We have the ability to set up two-factor authentication. And I'll talk about that a little bit. We utilize a unique one-time use tunnel credentials. And one of the things that we do that's also very unique is as we looked at some of the remote access issues that other devices had, a lot of times it was tied to software. Somebody had their remote access software installed on their computer and they didn't update to the latest patch. So rather than providing another software package that your IT group had to make sure to download all that, we utilize for our remote access tunnels, we use native Windows VPN services. And so what that does is it seems like almost every Friday you get an update, Windows update that gets pushed out to your computer. So we're making sure that the remote access tunnels that are being used, it's getting updated with the latest security patches. But on top of that, I mean, we went ahead and we've got our encryption in there for the 256-bit AES encryption, and we've got some features such as audit trails, and then we align with the IEC 62443 for the secure development stuff. Two-factor authentication is really, as we've looked at some of the devices out there, two-factor authentication provides a much more secure way of connecting to a device and making sure that you're authorized to connect to that device and things such as like SMS messaging. So every login can require a token from an authentication app. And you can go ahead and scan that with the QR code. And like I mentioned, just much more secure than just standard SMS messaging. So you've got your Prosoft Connect account and then your login, and then you would go ahead and grab that two-factor authentication off of your device and put that unique authentication number in there. So VLOTO is something that our virtual logout tagout, and this is something, as I mentioned, we worked closely with some IT professionals to go ahead and determine what they needed what made them feel comfortable using a remote access solution. And the VLOTO was one of the things that we worked with them on. And so what this does is it requires authorized approvers to hold the key. And so they must approve each remote access solution. They can approve that access for a specific amount of time. And so if they say, hey, I approve this access for 30 minutes, that's all that tunnel is active for. If anything changes at any given time, so say for instance, a machine all of a sudden went down and your plant supervisor is like, oh, I just granted remote access to this machine. I want to make sure that I can go ahead and revoke that remote access. He's got the ability to just go ahead and say, yeah, you know, I approved it before, I'm revoking it right now because due to situations that I need to take that away. And then we've got this audit trail that comes through that allows an activity log of permissions, who accepted, who denied, and that's something that's just tracked in the software so that at any given time you can go back and take a look at that. And then the nice part about it is authorized approvers don't necessarily have to be Prosoft Connect users. It can be your IT manager, your plant engineer, shift supervisors. Basically, they get an email that talks about, that asks for the access, and they can approve it. So there's, again, they don't have to set up a separate account and things like that. It just ties in through their normal daily operations and email accounts. So When we talk about PDN, this is our device network right here. And really what we like to say that it's very similar to adding a switch in the cloud. And so it's very high availability because of the cloud nature architecture. We've got multiple cloud services that containers and microservices that run, multiple different tunnels that you can connect through. So it gives you a high availability system. But what this is unlike remote access, where it's you're basically requesting access to the data, the PDN network is essentially, it's an always-on connection, and it allows devices. So in this case, you've got some PACs out there. It allows those devices to connect together virtually through the cloud and transfer data back and forth. So it provides a layer 2 networking means, which the nice part about that is there's no complex routing tables that you have to configure and set up. It's all set up through the Prosoft Connect account. And it gives you also a comprehensive audit trail, just like we talked about before. But really, for something like this, some of the applications that we've seen this in is really, it ties to different industries, but specifically in our oil and gas, it's maybe a gas distribution networks, tank monitoring, remote fields, some floating installations, or maybe even some midstream applications. It becomes very effective when, say, for instance, a producer has acquired a new asset. They may not have communications with some of those assets out there, and sometimes installing communication radio networks, towers, all of that, it may be cumbersome or difficult to get that information. So a lot of times historically, they'd be dispatching somebody on site every day to go grab data and make sure everything was still up and running. But with the PDN network, this just allows you a very easy way. If you've got cellular access out on that site, which in some cases that can be difficult, but if you do have cellular access on that site through any of the Verizon or AT&T networks, you can go ahead and put one of these appliances out there and utilize the Prosoft, the PDN network, and then go ahead and get your information from those devices. So it really looks like, again, it looks like a virtual switch in the cloud, and allows you to network a bunch of remote sites together. Really, you don't have to worry about doing RF surveys or installing towers. I mean, sometimes you may have some remote sites that you just, the landowners haven't given the permission to install towers at a certain location where you would need to put one. Well, if there's already a cellular tower around there, then you can take advantage of that and really still get your information. So switching gears from the PDN network to now some of our measurement applications. Oil and gas measurement has a very specific set of requirements, and Prosoft has been offering a measurement-based solution for the Rockwell Automation platform for going on 20 years now. But recently we've done quite a bit of work to really address some of the newer standards with this module, and really targeting some of the applications. But really, when we talk measurement, the key things are not only the measurement of the oil and gas product, but the ability to archive data is a requirement based on the API standards. You have to have that secure audit trail to be able to take a look at the information if anybody made any changes. And then you have to have an interface to the SCADA equipment. So not to mention, there's also a really so when we kind of looked at some of the things like the multi-well pad application, we had customers that were doing similar hybrid systems similar to this, where they had standalone flow computers on site that were handling the measurement of the product. but then they may also have been taking advantage of a Rockwell Automation platform and being able to do things such as distributed I/O around the well pad site. This gave them a lot of advantages. However, became kind of could be expensive on some installations. So some customers decided that as measurement is a really defined requirement, that they would instead incorporate flow computers or the automation requirements for the site into a flow computer. And that gave them the ability to still control the site, but they weren't able to take advantage of things such as distributed I/O along the location. What this solution does is it provides a measurement module that offloads the measurement related functions into a coprocessor to meet the industry standards for oil and gas measurement. And so as we've gone ahead and built out this measurement solution, it's based on a Rockwell solution, Rockwell control or compact logic solution. It allows us to build some very large control architectures with multiple metering locations. And then one of the things that we do, since it is a hardware solution and a coprocessor and no complex licensing fees, you got a free software package to perform measurement functions. And it really allows you to take advantage of the multidiscipline control architecture with the Rockwell hardware, as well as using a ProSoft measurement solution. And that gives you the ability to scale once and reuse. And so for us, really, what we see customers that have done is they've been able to start out small, maybe on a Compact Logix L24 system for doing some water measurement. As their needs increase, they may decide to use a L33 or L36 Compact Logix platform for doing maybe a small well pad site. And then eventually, as they go into maybe some compressor stations or gas plants, they may want to go into control Logix or even fully redundant control Logix systems, all centered around and ProSoft AFC modules for the measurement solution. And so the last product that I want to talk about and some of the uses that we see with our oil and gas customers is some of our one of our data logging solutions. So what this is a gateway module. It's an appliance that allows you to get access to the data you need to make better decisions. So it seems like everybody's talking about just getting more access to data to find ways to optimize production, reduce costs, maybe do predictive maintenance, things like that. So, so one of the things for can reduce travel costs. You can gain operational efficiency. And the ability to automatically log this data on a continuous basis gives you a really comprehensive, accurate picture of what's being on there. So you can identify historic performance if you're looking to optimize a process or future improvements to increase efficiency or production. So one of the use cases that we've seen on this is the ability to continuously monitor some data from pump jacks via Modbus solution. Data can be analyzed, and this data logging solution can log a lot of data and be accessed as needed. So another use case is maybe some of our OEM equipment builders, such as a compressor skid, where they may install these skids out on site, and they want to go ahead and log this information over the operational period to make sure that the it hasn't been operated outside of its boundaries or intended purposes, or maybe if they want to do first fault detection if issues occur. This data logger provides the ability to get access to that information without having a separate, having to get that information all into like a SCADA system, and you can do some historical trending off of that. The Data Logger Plus features the ability for Ethernet IP, Modbus RTU, or Modbus TCP communications, and it can store up to 16 million timestamp records from various devices. So, like I said, there's a lot of information that can be stored in a small little appliance that fits in, can be installed in a control cabinet. The trends can be exported as a CSV file, or we've got the Data Logger Plus does support REST API to collect that data as well. And then you can have up to 3 different sources. So, and you get to choose the mode of operation. You can store until the memory is full, or you can store it as a FIFO buffer. So that was a really quick overview on some of our products that are tied with our oil and gas customers, and some of the unique applications that we've seen with those. And so at this time, I'll go ahead and open it up to any questions.
Thanks, Eric. That was really good. Yeah, go ahead and drop your questions in. One of them that I see is, do you typically see applications where more than one in-rack flow computer is needed?
Yes, we have. We've actually done an installation where we had 5 in-rack flow computers installed. And so what that, it was 5 of our Control Logix flow computers, and we were able to do a total of 80 measurement runs. This was on a multi-well pad site where I believe they had, I think it was 12 separators. They wanted to measure oil, gas, and water off each separator. So that in itself was 36 measurement runs. And then they had some other equipment, plus they wanted to leave some room for expansion. So with the Rockwell architecture, there's quite a lot of flexibility that we can install multiple measurement modules in a single solution.
Okay, very good. What about RF radios? When we have rain here in Bakersfield right now and lightning, what do we have protection against that?
So we do provide for our RF radios, we do have a lightning protection kit that can be installed in the panel, and does provide some immunity to lightning. And so that's actually a lightning protector kit that can be installed as one of our accessories. We've got a full line of accessories right there. So, and those have proven to have a good effect in areas that we've seen that get a lot of lightning. Now, granted, you take a direct hit to any radio tower or antenna, I mean, there's only so much that a lightning protector can actually do, but these will definitely help with going ahead and dissipating some of that energy and making sure that in certain situations it does not damage your equipment. Another question came in, does Prosoft make a cellular gateway with a built-in network bridge? We do not right now. Our cellular gateway only provides, it provides the cellular access to the network. And then, we do not have the network bridging functionality on right now. That is something that we are looking at in our next generation product, which hopefully the next time we do this webinar, we'll be talking more about some next gen stuff. Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your busy days to sit in and talk to.
Yeah, thanks everyone. And again, we will be sending the PowerPoint as well as the recording of this video. It'll be in your inbox shortly. So All right, with that, thanks very much, Eric, and hope everybody has a good rest of their day.
Thank you.